Also, hello, Brand Innovators team out there. I know that we're just starting today's sessions. We have a full day jam-packed. Just to reintroduce myself, I work at Influential. We're a social data conversion company specializing in showcasing the effectiveness of influencer campaigns. And I'd be remiss to not mention TULA's first celebrity partnership with Shawn Johnson. And it's none other than around probably the most notable scent fragrance of the season, pumpkin. Super excited about that. And I'd love to hear from you both. How did this partnership come about, and what are you guys looking to get out of it? It's been so successful so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I can kick it off. So just to give a little context on the product, we launched back in August a product that is called the So Pumpkin Exfoliating Sugar Scrub. And it's a sugar scrub that is scented like pumpkin spice. And some people thought that August might be a little bit too early to launch a pumpkin product, but I think Shawn has definitely proven them wrong. When the product launched, we had a 16,000 person wait list on TULA.com. The product sold out in the first 2 weeks at 400 Ulta doors, and it's just been a top product for TULA ever since its launch. So definitely resonating in a big way. And part of the inspiration behind the product is, and Shawn can probably tell this story so much better than I can, but we've been fans of Shawn's for so long at TULA, and we saw a couple of years ago a recipe that she shared go viral. It was a pumpkin bread recipe that was her mom's, and really inspired us. And I think that when we started working together, Shawn, it just really very naturally became a part of the conversation. And when we started talking about going into developing a product together, it was such a key piece of inspiration, knowing that TULA is very inspired by ingredients and superfoods, and also your story as well.
Yeah, it was just seamless. I have been a huge fan of TULA's for years, and my followers were always aware of my kind of fandom towards this brand and that I loved it. I think it's a very relatable brand. And yes, I posted, I think I was pregnant and just craving like soul food. I posted my mom's pumpkin bread recipe, which is something I grew up on. And I was like, I just need to devour this and I need to share it with you guys because it's so good. It's sinfully good. And I don't know why, but it like broke the internet. It got shared over 500,000 times. It was crazy. So then partnering with TULA, we came up with this concept of why don't we kind of branch off of that and do something pumpkin. I am definitely one of those people where it's never too early to light a pumpkin candle or to put pumpkins on your doorstep. I buy everything pumpkin. And so it was just like, it was a really awesome and easy kind of partnership that we did that made such perfect sense for us.
I love that. It's so important. I think that we say it a lot. We hear it from marketers. We even hear it from, the other side of the fence with influencers and celebs. Like, we want that partnership to be truly authentic. We want you to, if there's any sort of organic, mentions or ways that you've interacted with each other, that's always huge. So I'm curious to know, was there a brainstorm session, or how did you guys think about pumpkin in the multiple different ways that you have so far, and thinking about even what we haven't seen yet?
Yeah, I mean, we've been partnering on this product for a really long time, and I think it's actually one of the reasons that you very rarely see collaborations with skincare brands in the market is that we've been working on this for over a year together. The product development cycle is so long in skincare. It's very different than makeup brands. And so the collaboration has not just revolved around pumpkin and the ingredient story, but every single point of the product development process, the packaging, the component, played with new colorways that we never use as a brand, because they really, reflected Shawn's brand so beautifully. And, it was a really exciting collaboration across all of those touch points, including bringing a campaign to life together. So there have been a lot of ways that we're able to work together in the creative process, and both just like super creative teams independently, and putting our heads together was just a really exciting opportunity.
I love that. Shawn, I'm curious to know, from a creative standpoint, was there like thinking about, platforms, thinking about, I know a year ago, TikTok was around, but it's kind of like, how are we going to dive into it, especially when it comes to something maybe that's related to a brand? What was that creative process like, sort of pre-COVID, I guess, and now post-COVID, thinking about what you're doing or continuing to work with TULA on?
Oh my gosh. I feel like it's changed quite a bit across social platforming after pre and post COVID. I feel like pre-COVID, everything was merging platforms with actual real life experience. So I personally would get on socials to kind of watch and experience something and get a glimpse of it and kind of feel what it's like, whether it's Coachella or something. And then you have that desire to actually go. Post COVID, I felt like the massive change in platform usage went from not showing the world what they can go experience, but what can we actually experience virtually, and what fun ways can you integrate products into your life and actually make it fun to live in your home. So I know with us, it was this huge creative brainstorming of how can we bring to life the pumpkin bread recipe along with bringing, the scrub into your home and like creating this whole experience on your own with the entire world, instead of feeling like, oh, I need to go somewhere and do something in order to kind of live that social platform, marketing strategy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Shawn, I'm curious, or Katey, I'm curious to know too. So if we're thinking about research as it relates to definitely like celebrity and influencer partnerships, do we also think about it as it relates to consumers and what they're doing, thinking again about the platforms or what they're buying, what they're interested in? That can go on thinking about even pre-COVID and now, but I'm curious to know how important those research insights have been.
Yeah, I can jump in on that. So my background is actually in consumer behavior research. So for me, this is really just at the heart of everything that I do and every decision that I make and that my team makes. And one of the coolest parts about working for a direct-to-consumer brand is having this really direct relationship with our customers and with our community. So we are able to send out surveys. We're able to do polls on Instagram. We're able to have this like really very dynamic and iterative process with our customers. And one of the things that we found that's really exciting is that they want to weigh in. They want to jump in and share opinions about whether it's product development, whether it's about categories that we should move into. Those are really common areas that we ask about. And we actually just did a survey recently that was around a totally new topic for us, and that's confidence, right? One of our core values at TULA is around confidence, and that's also what makes our connection with Shawn so real, because we share a lot of those same values and get a lot of inspiration from her and her story, to that extent. And one of the things that we learned in the survey is that 70% of our customers told us that beauty ads and the way that beauty companies are speaking in the market are making them feel less confident. So for us, like, this is a totally different type of understanding, a totally different type of data, very qualitative, very emotional. But for us as a brand, it's really understanding what is the consumer experiencing, what is their mindset, and then what can we do proactively as a brand that has values in this area to really change the dynamic, change the language, and to essentially just raise the bar across the board in terms of how we bring campaigns to life, how we bring language to life, and some of those norms in the beauty industry.
That makes a lot of sense. And I love that, it's been such an honor to talk with people who've actually been, open and, from a brand perspective, open about what they're doing and speaking up. And really, again, authenticity is key. It's like the word of 2020, it seems. Is that something that you think about, definitely in this partnership, Shawn, but just thinking about brands that you'd even, follow or engage with? Are you really looking to make sure like they have some sort of authenticity or way to respond to their consumers that's super organic and not just sort of like there to check a box?
Absolutely. We take our partnerships really, really seriously. And I feel like we've kind of taken it up a notch since I had my daughter. I feel like there is an authenticity there that's necessary in order for us to be a part of a partnership, just because when I turn the computer off, when I stop working, and I have to look my daughter in the eyes, I don't want anything to be inauthentic. I struggled with so much my entire life and my entire career with body image issues and self-confidence and eating disorders and just kind of all those societal standards that are pushed into a perfectionism on social media that's really hard to digest as a kid and as a young woman. And so for me, that authenticity, that way that companies are approaching consumers and targeting them and marketing them is really important to us. And if there isn't a way to skew that into a vulnerable and raw and real way, we tend to not work with those types of companies. I definitely love the direction TULA is going with the confidence and vulnerability side. I think it's hopefully catching on and spreading across other companies.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's I've been a huge fan of TULA as well. So just, continue to applaud you guys. I want to give you an opportunity, Katey, to share some of the awesome work that you guys did do in the summer, or I guess I'm thinking of this like pre and post COVID, really thinking about 2020, but everything that you guys did in response to COVID, and then thinking about, Black Lives Matter, everything that you did for Pride Month as well. Would you like to touch on some of those activations or initiatives?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think 2020 has been such an incredible year just to be a human, right? I mean, like so much has happened, so much has changed, and it's really an incredible moment of reflection, not just as a brand, but literally as a human being and beyond that. One initiative that we launched in April that we were really, proud of, although, I guess it's bittersweet to focus in some of these areas, was an initiative called Masks for Masks. So we are at TULA, we're founded by a gastroenterologist. She's a practicing doctor at a hospital in New York City. And going into COVID in New York was awful, and it was really intense and scary, and there wasn't there weren't appropriate protections for frontline workers. And it was something we were all really acutely aware of. And it's one of those moments as a brand, we don't have a playbook in place for this. We've never been in this situation. We don't know what to do, but we know we have to do something, right? And we also knew that our community wanted to somehow help and contribute. So what we did was we took one of our products, an existing SKU. It was a hydrogel mask that, performed really well for us. And we decided to donate 100% of the proceeds from this product to protective equipment for frontline workers. And with that program, I mean, we've donated. We're still doing it. It's still ongoing. If you are interested or in the market for a hydrogel mask, but it was an opportunity. We donated over 70,000 masks, and for us, like, we're very passionate. We're very I think I don't know, we feel everything at TULA, right? So, we see a change like that happening in the external environment, and we automatically think about what can we do as a brand and get involved. So that was a program that we were very, very proud of and still are. And, we've also been, in terms of Black Lives Matter, we have been, as a brand, very involved in building a lot of community within our brand, creating safe spaces for people to be able to connect on topics that are generally rather difficult to discuss within a corporate environment. And we have put diversity and inclusion at the forefront of everything that we do at TULA, and it is unquestionable. It is a question that we ask ourselves literally at the end of every meeting or at the end of every campaign planning cycle. Can everybody see themselves in this campaign? Can this campaign communicate to everyone? I know that's kind of like a tall order to say everyone, but for us, it's really, relooking at our values and ensuring that we are, consistent, authentic, and that we are, being being the brand that we want to be out in the world. And so we have been evolving a lot internally, and we'll be making more public statements about that in the coming months.
That's incredible. Has that been a focus for you, thinking about, again, future partnerships, Shawn, but even the content that you put out, the way that you're talking to your audiences, again, brands even, this is a really awesome example of, showing that your audience is, I'm working with someone who actually cares and is being real and, not tone deaf in a world like this. How important has that been, and how have you kind of thought about the content that you put out?
I feel like it's been a huge shift in influencers this year, which has been amazing. So I feel like everybody went from this mentality of, if you just don't say anything, if you just don't put your name in it, then you won't be controversial and you won't, have to deal with anything. And it's been cool to see that there's been a shift of, now we have a platform, we have a voice, and we have an intention and a desire and need to use it. And so for us, it was a huge kind of pivot this year of, let's look at the brands we're working with. Let's look at their values and what they stand for, what they're doing to kind of use their platforms, and make sure that these partnerships are doing the work that we want them to be doing. So I was going to chime in too with Katey. That's something that I love about TULA is, I truly believe, and this isn't even like, I've never said this before. Every platform you guys stand for, I feel like you do a really good job at showing the world that. So whether it's like your agelessness or Black Lives Matter or inclusion and diversity and the masks, I feel like I truly can go to their website or their Instagram and feel like they're inclusive to everyone, which I love. And again, going back to my daughter, I never want her to grow up and be like, why did you work with this company? Or why didn't you say this? Or why didn't you do that? And so it's a huge part of our everyday strategy of making sure that we are being a voice through brands and through partnerships that we want to be.
I think that's so great to hear, especially, there's so many marketers even tuning in, like, what should I think about maybe as a brand, but like, what kind of people should I think about partnering with who have influence? And it's, people who are thinking about this from both lenses, like from being someone who can definitely, for lack of a better way to say it, influence an audience, but can also understand the business behind it and sort of like what's necessary. I want to talk a little bit about the business, thinking about the way that you're thinking about either social partnerships. Are they really always upper funnel when it comes to working with influencers and celebs, or how are you thinking about it from a lower funnel sort of marketing and sales capacity as well?
Yeah, so for us, I'll say that our approach is, very much across the funnel. But we do have a very large network of influencers and creators that we partner with. One of the things that I think is really cool and different about TULA, and I've worked in beauty for a very long time, is that we are working with a number of creators who are from all sorts of different communities. So, athletes, lifestyle, fitness, food, wellness. And I think it's such a wide range and like really moves outside of the beauty playbook. And one of the things that we do at TULA is we do offer we do offer codes for influencers who are sharing TULA products. And it's a great way for us to be able to be very clear on this is a channel. And the way that we look at partnering with creators is perhaps a bit different. We're looking at it as if all of our creators are like individual retail boutiques, right? Like they're all, these boutiques that have a really clear and a really deep connection with like a very specific audience in a way that we could never have as a boutique. Right? Like we could never be an expert on Shawn's audience the way that she is, right? Like she is like she knows them through and through and through. And so I think that it's a really cool model to have this, distribution model across Instagram, across YouTube, and other platforms, Snapchat, TikTok, and to have that approach that these are individual like micro marketing moments and boutiques, really is how we like to think of it. So in that extent, that could be that's very lower funnel.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm curious to know, since we've all, I mean, Shawn, you're as an influencer, as a celebrity, as your own, entrepreneur and businesswoman, you've worked at home before. You've had the luxury of kind of like, filming awesome content from the comfort of your home. What does that look like now that there's like, limited capacity to go elsewhere too? Still thinking about being creative, being authentic, and then after that, Katey, I'll turn it to you and think about how TULA's taken advantage of sort of like home production influencers, or those that can make quality content.
It has been interesting. I think it's been interesting for everybody, even if you started working from home, because even if you were working from home, you got all of your creativity and inspiration from the outside world, from outside like experiences and interactions with people. You would go to a farmer's market or whatever it may be to get your inspiration. Now, kind of cultivating that inspiration and creativity within your home has been a little bit more difficult. I also think there are so many topics that are hitting so close to home for the entire world right now that it offers so many new opportunities to shoot personal content and personal strategies and kind of create more of a more intentional community than we ever have before. I felt like before COVID, before quarantine, before living at home, working from home so much for most of the world, it was all about living vicariously through other people on social media. And now it's more about connecting with people and finding relatability stories and finding outlets that don't make you feel isolated. So it's been for us more about sharing a two-way conversation instead of just showing the world, pretty pictures.
Got it. Interaction. It seems like being more interactive with because I always tell our creative team too, like there's so much creativity I know you can get inside your apartment, but like maybe we can have a conversation, talk about what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Katey, what about at TULA?
Yeah, it's very, and I think it was a huge shift. I mean, we are a very collaborative team. We like really feed off of each other's energy. And so for us, it's been, it was very difficult to move into a dispersed work environment, but it also allowed us to sort of tap into different parts of ourselves that we never would have otherwise. So one of the things that we started doing, and then I'll share a little bit about creative, like specifically, but one of the things that we started doing on my team when we went into shelter in place in New York was we started doing these 15-minute stand-ups every day. And they sort of evolved into, people doing tours of their apartment for each other. We'd go in and like look at each other's medicine cabinets and each other's bathrooms and, do these things that we would never, ever do in the office together. We did show and tell. People would like bring their pets in. And it was so cool in a way because I learned things about my team and about my colleagues that I never would have otherwise. And it gives a whole new set of inputs and connection for all of us in a time that's just super odd, right? And in terms of creative specifically, I mean, we hit this moment where I think after about April, we had exhausted all of the brand campaign content that we had shot before COVID. And we had, I don't know, maybe 5 products to launch. We had absolutely zero content, zero capacity to do a photo shoot. And we, got in a room, our virtual room, with our creative team and just said, what do we do? Right. And so one of the key areas for us that was so natural was, of course, to move into UGC. And we launched a number of products, I think like maybe 4 of them, entirely with user generated content. When we worked with Shawn to do a photo shoot, we did the photo shoot remotely And we've gotten into this rhythm where we'll do a shoot and we'll be on Zoom and we're like, oh, that looks amazing. Oh my God. I mean, with Shawn, like she is such a pro. It's so super easy. And honestly, I'd say that, you know, across the board, but it's been a whole new world for us. We're just starting to go back into the studio in a very, very limited way with very lean teams. And it's really changed and evolved the you know, perspective that I have on content. And I think also the look of different brands, right? I mean, like the brands that are really close to you know, creating campaigns and creating content in real time had that shift into a different look, like really immediately around April, May. And I think it was really clear during that time who, you know, who was doing something radically different. And it was a really cool experience for us. Although to be honest, I'd love to go back in the studio at some point, but yeah, it's been really cool.
I hear you. It's kind of like, I love it. I'm okay with it. I've learned to live with it. I'd love to get outside, but wait, not too much. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Flexibility. I'm curious to know, thinking about that. Okay, so there's ways that we're finding creativity, ways that we're leveraging whatever we can to do what we can at home. I just feel like there comes a time where we're working more than we probably would have in the office. And it's the meme that's like, when you realize working from home is living at work. How have you guys managed to find balance and think about, you know, kind of like turn off and on? I know as a mom, I don't even know, Shawn. Yeah, I applaud everyone out there. But I'm curious to know balance. What does that mean for you?
So we actually got really creative here at our house because once kind of some of the shelter in place lived a little bit here in Nashville, we actually had a couple of like our girls who work with us start coming to our house to actually work from here and following protocol, obviously. But we had to get really creative because I work with my husband full time. We're parents full time, and then we have to run a business. And so after about a month, we went crazy. So we had to put some rules and regulations in place. We shifted everything. We moved everything around in our house. And we have like an upstairs and a downstairs. And so upstairs became work. So if you went upstairs, you could talk about work. That's where you could work on your computer. That's where you did all of, you know, your business. But the second you came downstairs, you weren't allowed to talk about work. So you were technically home. And we do this cheesy thing every time you come down the stairs at the end of the day. It's like, hey, honey, I'm happy you're home. How was work today? We just try to like get in this routine of that separation, and trying to find that separation and maintain it has been really, really key for us.
Love that tip, especially if you have the space, like this is where we work. I don't want to see your office today. I love that.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I want to pick that up. I work in my bedroom, so you know, there's zero separation. It's like I can roll out, get dressed, come to the computer, and it's definitely, I think, a new experience for us. But it's yeah, it's all happening.
Yeah, I feel like every day it's like thinking about something new. Like, do I get up? Do I leave? Do I check my computer? Like, what do I need? I need some sort of, you know, schedule.
Yeah,
that totally makes sense. I'm going to jump into some questions. They're flooding in, of course. Let's see how many we can get of these out. The first one goes for you, Shawn. They want to know, was it hard transitioning? This kind of goes to your last point too. Was it hard transitioning career-wise? And what did you know that you wanted to do after gymnastics, if anything?
So it was actually really, really difficult for me. After gymnastics and after kind of my quote unquote first career, my dream in life was I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, which is nothing close to what I do now.
First of all.
Yes, thank you. So I worked my whole kind of academic life to become a doctor, to get into school to become a doctor. And then after the Olympics, I kind of got thrown into this media world, and I was thrown into sports marketing and entertainment marketing and ambassadorships. And I just kind of learned that world in and out for so many years and got into a rhythm of it where I started creating brands and creating longevity within it that my husband being an NFL player, we just kind of evolved into this world, and I love it. It changes literally every single day, and it keeps you on your toes. I'd still love to be a doctor, but I love what I do. So it was a long transition. I'd say it took 7 years to kind of find something that I felt confident in and I felt comfortable in. And yeah, it's different, but I love it.
I think that's super helpful. I know there's a lot of like young marketers looking up to you in a lot of ways too. So that's awesome to hear. I have a question that might work for both of you, but I'll hand it over to you first, Katey. What can heritage brands learn from newer digital first brands when it comes to authentically marketing the Gen Z?
Very interesting. You know, I'd say, I mean, I've worked at both types of brands, right? And I think one really key difference, I mean, it might sound rather basic, is speed. I think that smaller brands, growth stage brands, are very close to the customer and we're able to react in real time. When I worked at, you know, a much larger brands, I mean, we would plan our calendar out years in advance. We would plan messaging out, photo shoots, everything would be planned very, very far in advance, which, trust me, has its advantages. But I think that having this mindset of, we are going to launch a product next week and we are going to look at the conversation on social. We're going to look at the external environment up until the second we launch and keep adjusting our messaging, keep adjusting our creative. And then once it goes into market, continue adjusting and testing and learning like nonstop is a very, very different approach. So I think that mentality of just like running and that speed is very, very different.
I'll add too, I think a huge difference is voice. I worked in the sports entertainment side for so many years with all of the heritage brands. And I feel like the heritage brands, are so comfortable and confident in their scripts and how they commercialize things and how it's very just commercial. And with Gen Z, and now I just feel like, especially with advertising and marketing, it has to be an authentic voice to that specific consumer, to that specific marketer. And you have to kind of let the marketers or influencers kind of run with what they know works. And that's sometimes really hard for heritage brands to understand and kind of learn and kind of go with, because they're so tight range. But it's because of, like you said, the scheduling and the calendars. They script these things years in advance.
Got it. Great tip. Speed and voice. Thinking about the next one, this goes for both of you. You both are leaders in your own right, and you're always developing your abilities. What kind of skills are you looking to develop this year? And I'm sure just working from home has created a lot of, you know, people honing in on communication skills, things like that. What kind of skills would you like to develop?
I don't know about you, Katey, but for us being on the influencer side, I would love to hone my skills in videography, photography, editing, because up until COVID, commercials, photo shoots, everything for brands was done externally. So camera crews, editors would come in and kind of do everything hands-on, and you would be using third parties. Now it's kind of the influencer doing everything, which is fun, and it's been a challenge. But I think honing those skills for me is kind of a goal that I have. I'd love to be, you know, a one-man crew, and that's my new goal.
That's awesome. And I think for us, it's, you know, in some ways similar, but maybe like less on the technical end and more on the content side, is that we had so many different touch points with customers pre-COVID, like lots of events, and you know, of course, the entire in-store experience has shifted in a big way, although it's still very much there. And for us, it's really, how do we take those more tangible parts of the brand that you would experience in real life and translate them to a digital environment? So a lot more depth in terms of storytelling, a lot more multi-layered storytelling, both on Instagram, building out content series for YouTube in the future, and really looking at having a very different and more multi-layered approach to content across the board.
Love that. Both are awesome answers. I want to ask another question that is a personal one. What are your predictions for beauty, skincare, thinking about 2021? And this could kind of, I'll keep it as broad, so you can be thinking about it from several different lenses, but wanted to take that for you guys. What are your predictions for beauty? Shawn, you can also touch in like influencers' role in the beauty or celebs, influencers' role in that. Curious to know, what are 2021 predictions?
So aside from like analytical predictions and how things are going, I think 2020 has been an incredible launch pad for kind of what I was referring to earlier, just influencers' voice. I don't feel like influencers are as scared to show inequalities and imperfection and difference and vulnerabilities and raw and real things. So my dream prediction for 2021 is that companies, brands, marketers, influencers will run with that, and we'll see a celebration of difference, which is how it should have been from the beginning, and not just this societal standard of this is the look we're going for and this is how you achieve it. I think it should be a different marketing strategy from everyone's platform and perspective of how can we just encourage you to be you in your own way.
Celebration of difference. That's a tweetable moment. Thanks. That's perfect. Katey?
I completely agree with that. And I will just build on it from a totally different direction. And I think that we are starting to see so much more curiosity and interest around the ingredients in our formulas, around scientific efficacy, which is something that has always been really important to us. But I think really this idea of with everything going on in the world, looking at what we are putting on our body, what we are putting into our body has been so incredibly important and top of mind to people. And that I think that will carry through in a lot of product trends, a lot of ingredient trends, and customer priorities over the next year, in addition to all the intangibles around self-care and nurturing and nourishing yourself in a really volatile and unpredictable environment.
Two awesome answers. I feel like there's so much more to look forward to from having that perspective from, in work and thinking about personal, because they often, definitely intertwine with each other. But I appreciate both of you guys for taking the time and giving us a little insight, and again, inviting us into your homes. And such a great session. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tiffanie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katey. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Tiffanie. Time flies when you're having fun. That went by really quickly, but it was wonderful. Thank you guys so much for your contributions.
Thank you.